So I got 4 concussions in my last year of playing. I remember going to my doctor at the time, and he said, look, the next one, you don't know where you're going to be. When someone sits across the table and tells you that sort of stuff,
yeah, it's huge.
You don't get the fire as what you would normally get when you're 18 or 19 and you go, I'm unbreakable. Going through those motions of an athlete and understanding what pressure is and understanding, discipline as well. And there was great synergies with what I did as an athlete to what I was doing in business as well.
Todd Liubinskas is revolutionising the fitness racing industry with his vision for YOHKA, a high-performance, high-adrenaline event series.
The latest fast-paced sports craze making its debut in the upcoming LA Olympics.
600 competitors will put themselves to the test in Yoker's challenge this weekend.
We had a community of just everyone. We had something for the athlete, we had something for the beginner, something for the weekend warrior as well. There's no supplement for recovery. The best one is.
Todd, welcome to the house story.
Great to be here.
Yeah, mate, why don't you kick us off? Give me a bit of background on who Todd is and what you are known for.
What I'm known for? Well, I'll probably break that up into 3 answers.
Okay.
For the first 10 years of my career out of high school, I was definitely an athlete, playing rugby league, rugby union. And then the next 10 years, I was moving more into small business owner, worked for Men's Health and worked for Michelle Bridges and was definitely in the health and fitness space. Now I'd like to be known for, I'm a CEO of Yoker and trying to fill a gap in the market for fitness racing. So probably a few different answers there, but
yes.
I'd like to be known for that at the moment. And probably as well as that is more about my relationships. Relationships are pretty key for me, and I'd like to make sure that I keep doors open wherever I go and make sure that I leave a lasting impression on someone.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's go back to you as a child, maybe in high school. Tell me about who was Todd.
High school, far out. I was, I was playing every sport under the sun. I was, started off playing soccer as everyone probably did, or football as you probably want to call it now. I played basketball. I was academic enough. I got myself through to probably about the 85, 90% mark in exams and whatnot, but I was definitely sport focused. My mum was an aerobics instructor and teacher, and my dad was a football player. So my dad played for Western Balmain in rugby league. Oh, wow. So I was growing up around those circles of the gym, and also, at any one time I was training on the weekend with my dad and his mates, and it was just part of the DNA that I would get up on Saturdays and train, and then through the week try and play every sport under the sun.
Yeah.
And went to an all-boys school, went to St Patrick's College at Strathfield. Had a really good education. I remember such good memories from that. And I had the opportunity to do all those sports, so I was pretty fortunate there.
And finishing school, did you study? Did you go do a TAFE course or equivalent?
Funny. I wanted to go, and I was literally having this chat with my partner the other day, and I wanted to go and do a university degree in media and communications.
Oh, wow.
I had a work experience at 2GB Radio when I was in year 10, and I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to go in there, and I was actually sitting in Alan Jones's seat at the time, and doing all that sort of stuff and working through those guys. And I thought that's where I wanted to be, but I fast went into the athlete mode out of high school and went and played actually basketball, believe it or not, without going to football then. I was playing ABA for North Sydney basketball, and I thought, well, I'm going to do that. I might want to just start my own business and start to earn some more money. So I ended up working for a subcontractor to a freight company as a courier. So I bought my own van, registered my own business at 18, and started my career as a courier, and then thought I was going to go all the way with basketball. So that quickly diminished my plans to go to university or anything like that. And then after about a year of doing that fast forwarded into a marketing career at a company called Saunas for 10 years. And then I was able to work there and be an athlete and play rugby league, and they supported me. So I sort of missed the university train and just went for the whole experience train. So that was I guess the first 10 years out of school and into the workforce.
Do you think that was the right decision looking back?
Yeah, I don't have any regrets. It definitely shaped who I was from what I've done in the last, 20 years in my career. Looking at going from an athlete to working in high performance, working with teams like the Wallabies, New Zealand Rugby League, Aussie Sevens, as part of when I owned my own gym, and got the opportunity to work for brands like Reebok, work with people like Michelle Bridges. I was able to do probably 3 or 4 different things throughout the week, which diversified myself and really helped shape who I was from a relationship point of view. I think when I put it down at the start, relationships are really key for me. So yeah, I don't really have any regrets. And there was always an opportunity for me to go out and work. Like it wouldn't matter what it would be, whether it was starting my own business, or there was always an opportunity for me to go and do that. So
are either of your parents entrepreneurial, or was it just you that decided, hey, I'm going to try this career thing and just give it a go?
Well, it was funny. So I grew up in Concord. My mum actually started her own business as a education, so early childhood education centre. So our backyard got subdivided, and the half of my yard was a business.
Yeah.
And the other half was our house. And my dad was working for Telstra out of the back of playing football, and mum was a small business owner. So I saw it firsthand, and dad would actually go out, work for Telstra during the week, and then go and be a brickies labourer or go and do some other building stuff on the side to support us as a family and to help with the business. So it was kind of not uncommon for me to see my parents doing a few different jobs throughout the week. So maybe that's where I got it from. It's probably the first time I've spoken about it publicly, but yeah, subliminally, probably an entrepreneurial mindset back then was, hey, we've got to make it work, and we've got to get money, and we've got to put food on the table. So this is what we've got to do. And that just gave me the opportunity to go out there and try new things and do that sort of stuff. So yeah, that was probably, if I look back at it now, definitely from mum and dad, it probably shaped me in that sense.
How long did you play professional rugby for?
7 years.
And how come you wrapped up with that?
Bad head knocks. So I got 4 concussions in my last year of playing.
Jeez.
The first one I went into, and funnily enough, half of those were in training. But I remember going to my doctor at the time, and he said, look, the next one, you don't know where you're going to be. You could be on your back.
Jeez.
You could be, something could happen with your neck, could lose vision, all this sort of stuff. And
wow.
When someone sits across the table and tells you that sort of stuff,
yeah, it's huge.
You don't get the fire as what you would normally get when you're 18 or 19 and you go, I'm unbreakable. There's different things that play on your mind then when you're strapping up the boots. And yeah, I saw that at the end of the season out, and then went into touch football career and CrossFit and all those things that are non-impact, which played on really well. So yeah, and look, that's I played first grade rugby union, and then tried to get to first grade in the NRL and got to reserve grade. But it was a really fun part of my life. It was great. It's a cool thing to experience, going through those motions of an athlete and understanding what pressure is, and understanding discipline as well. There was great synergies with what I did as an athlete to what I was doing in business as well. So,
what do you think most people don't get about being a professional rugby player or sports person?
I think they obviously see the product for 2 hours of the weekend, and they see someone out on the field, or whether it's on rugby league or whether it's a netball or a swimmer or whatever, they see the highlight reel. They don't actually see, they don't see the hours that you probably study a playbook, or the discipline you got to have with your diet, or the fact that you lose time with friends because you're sacrificing time to be a better athlete on the field. And that's actually the microscope is getting, a lot more intense on athletes these days, because everyone's bigger, everyone's faster, everyone's stronger than what they were. And definitely culturally, I think we was talking about it before we came on air, is that, the drinking culture and socializing culture is changing. That's moving more to a morning culture of coffees and run clubs and getting together. So yeah, with an athlete's mentality, you have to be like that. and with someone onlooking and someone looking out, and then if they make a mistake or something, they're quick to point the finger. I think you've got to give a lot of athletes credit these days, is that they definitely get paid a lot more, but there's a reason behind that, because they sacrifice so much. So, I think that's probably the biggest thing that if someone's watching and they're watching an athlete, just take that into account. It's not all the glitz and glamour. It's the hard work that they put in so they can do that amazing thing on the field, or they can create that moment where you're going to sit there with your friends and family and watch something and create entertainment for you. So, yeah.
You wrapped up playing rugby. What happened next?
So I went on to actually got the job at Reebok. So I worked at Reebok for a couple of years, fitness and training manager, and that was amazing. It was such a good job. I was managing the CrossFit relationship, Spartan, Les Mills, and I was almost like the Reebok Santa. I'd go into places and come in with shoes and everything, and open up relationships with people that, through product, but also understand their stories and understand how a brand can help them better their business or better become an athlete. And then from there, I spent the next 6 or 7 years after that to the front end of 2020. We all know what happened then, but running my own business. So CSP Gym, got that up to a few locations with a few guys I played football with. And yeah, throughout that time, it was great. I was working for Men's Health. I was doing some stuff with Michelle Bridges at the time. And I was known as the health and fitness guy. Wanted to be that icon or that really good role model for anyone in the community to, have a good lifestyle, train, eat well. Not saying I still do that now, but that was my life, and it was great.
What was it like running a fitness business during COVID?
That was interesting. That was 5 years ago, and
it's nuts.
Feels like it was, I don't know, 6 months ago.
Yeah, it does.
Look, it was, you could either go two ways. You could go, oh, poor is me, or woe is me, and I need help and I need assistance, or you could pivot and then work through, like a lot of people were training out in the open. Everyone had a gym at that stage, and everyone was out on a park or out in a field. And it was an interesting time. It wasn't a bad time for me. I did a lot of online training. I think I was training probably like 6 or 7 sessions a day from 45-minute sessions. And that was, I remember being in my basement, and I had a camera here, a camera on the ceiling, and a camera on the side. And I had them all linked up, and they were all linked up to either a Zoom or whatever it was. And I was moving through and helping school kids get fit, helping businesses get fit, stay fit. I was linking up with people in different markets globally. So it was a fun time. The flip side of it was coming back out of that period, COVID, and getting people to actually come back to the gym and come back to the community that you once had was really tough. So the aftermath of that took a while. I think we're back there now. It's taken 2 or 3 years post that to work through what that community is like, and building up people's trust again and getting them familiar with that sort of habitual training habits.
Why do you think it took so long for people to start to return?
I think there's a few things. Probably cost. I think finance. A lot of people thought, oh, am I going to go back and spend that money when I've just spent a year doing it in my garage and I got the results? I think at that stage there wasn't a lot of online options, and then after COVID, suddenly everyone had an online training program. You could go and get something on YouTube. If you Google something on YouTube or whatever today, you can literally train by yourself forever. Like, there's so many products out there. So I think that was the hesitation. But what's really encouraging is that people were able to come back in and find that connection again and go, you know what, I actually need that. And look at the rise of run clubs. Right? Run clubs, at that stage, everyone was social distancing and doing their thing, but now it's, at the time when I helped Trent start the 440, there was probably 400 run clubs around the country. Now I think there's like 4,000.
Yeah, there's so many.
So many. So, and great. It's good to see.
Is there a specific area of fitness that you feel like you excel in, or that you train majority of people?
Yeah, definitely strength and conditioning, high performance based training is what I was skilled up in, and definitely got my Cert 3 and 4 and through group training. But it was not so much I would push that on anyone. It's like, what does Tate want? How do we shape something around you? It could be boxing, could be high interval training, or it could be just going for a walk. So there wasn't one specific way that I would try and target people. It was like, hey, how do we help you? What do we need to do to resource that? Our gym was based on a strength and conditioning program that had a mix of hybrid fitness to really good cardio to HIIT training to CrossFit. So we're kind of a nice blend. And we didn't know at that stage, we didn't know what program we wanted to put out straight away. We had to test it, and we had to go, right, well, what community do we have? If we had a community of athletes, then it'd probably be more high performance. But we had a community of just everyone. We had something for the athlete, we had something for the beginner, something for the weekend warrior as well. So that was, it was sort of the avenue we pushed down for the programming element.
Like I was mentioning earlier, I feel like High Rocks has blown up.
Yep.
What would you be telling someone to do if they were wanting to train for a High Rocks in the shortest possible amount of time?
Well, number one, find a gym that's affiliated with a High Rocks. So I think there's, a whole host of different gyms that offer High Rocks training. And the good thing about that is, and you can go and do it on your own, but the good thing is you've actually got a community that already knows how to compete in a High Rocks or how to actually prepare. Usually it's nice to have some support as well, and generally get some tips around what you need to do, what footwear to wear, how do you prepare before like a couple of days out, what's your diet, how are you going to travel to the event, how do you recover, what's your cadence like when you run, what's it going to be like when you get to the wall balls at the end, like all these things. You need to learn off someone. And if you're, say you're 4 weeks out from an event and you don't know what to do and you're like, I'm going to try this thing, I would go and get yourself into a gym and just get familiar with that community before you actually get there. If you don't have that option, try and do as much research as you can and watch it online. So watch it on YouTube. There's so much out there that's documented right now. But geez, what a phenomenal business as well that it's, driving. The guys have done so well, and looking at YOHKA, we try and replicate what High Rocks have done in terms of, they're now 8-9 years old maybe. Came from an event where they sold out the first event for 2,000 people, and then they built from there, started building. Now they're selling out 30-odd thousand people at some venues. It's
amazing.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
What is Yoker for those that don't know?
So Yoker is a fitness racing brand. We've got 4 codes, one being a 100-metre short course, which is the 100-metre that's going to be in the modern pentathlon in LA 28. And that's similar to like a Ninja Warrior, but we've got a gap between each obstacle. So you start on some steps, run, jump over a wall, then over some monkey bars, whereas Ninja is brought together. In saying that, we offer Ninja as well. We've got a tag element too, which is a fun, it's really fun actually. So Tate, if you were in, you got 20 seconds to try and tag me and I've got to try and run away from you. You get a point if you run away and don't get tagged. Generally a team of 4, 14 by 14 square with a couple of different variations in the middle. So that's one part, that's the second part. The other 2 parts are our team challenge events where, we might have, there's 3 of us in the room. We might have a chance to go through and run through that event. We might make Tate do all the heavy lifting and we can just run, So that's our mass participation arm. And then we've got a 5K, which is a really nice even number that people can train for to run that distance, but also throw some different challenges in the middle of them. So Yoker is those 4 codes bringing together in a combination of different events throughout the year. We've got Tier 1, 2 and 3 events, Tier 1 being a combination of all 4 of those events, Tier 2 being maybe 2 of those, so the 100-metre and the tag, and Tier 3 being an exhibition style event. A bit of a gap in the market there where people haven't done it like that before. Really exciting to go down to the Olympic pathway and look at athletes in that space that otherwise have not been, the light hasn't been shone on them before. So we're trying to give them a platform to come through and work with the brands we've got on board, giving them their first pro athlete contracts and understanding value exchange, understanding how you work with a business. So there's a few different elements of YOHKA which we want to give a platform for athletes, give the community something they've never seen before, and then make it a festival, like a fitness festival where you can come in and do an event, grab a beer at the end and hear an amazing artist and walk away going, oh, you know what, that weekend was awesome. I met Tate, we got to hang out, we got to do this race together and, we're best buds. So that's what we want to try and emulate. And
is there a specific training program or protocol I should be following in the lead up to a YOKA event?
Yeah, so we've got, it's funny, so certain gyms, we've given gyms a blueprint for our affiliate model and gone, okay, this is the sort of training we want, but if you go to F45 and I go to 98 training and I'm like, well, my training's better than yours, so I'm going to try and beat you. There's definitely a base model training, but there's also, we leave it to a bit of freedom around each gym to sort of see, okay, well, what are they doing differently? How come they're fitter than the guys at F45, for example? So, there is, but we also give the freedom back to the affiliate.
And what about diet? Is there a specific diet you'd be telling me to follow?
Not so much specific. I mean, like anything, cut out the saturated fats and, all the things that probably don't gel with you and sugars and whatnot, and get your natural sweeteners and sugars from what you need to eat. But definitely the lighter you are, the better you are at events like this. It's, I'm coming out of football. I was 108 kilos in football, right? I'm now sitting at 96 to 97, about to run my second marathon. But there's definitely a favour if you are lighter and if you've got good grip strength. So diet around that is all about what works for you, but also what can lean you up a little bit further. And like anything, if you're doing an event where it's fast and explosive, certain foods probably don't gel with, what's going to make you fast and explosive. But think of it like if you're training for a 5K, and if you're training for like a 7 to 8K event, and then on the 100 meter, it's fast and explosive. And on tag, it's fast and explosive. So I think there's a few different avenues of diet. But yeah, I would recommend having a chat to a nutritionist or a health professional around diet to try and reduce fat and limit that sort of that body weight, because it's definitely going to help you with one of our events.
Todd, you've had the opportunity to train so many people. Why do you feel like some people can't stick to a fitness plan?
Yeah, look, there's a few different ways I want to answer that. And the first way is that we've got so many options. So, and it's 3 months is probably a good time to go, right, 12 weeks, we can get you, some habitual changes, and we can work through whatever goals you need to have. And if it needs to go longer, it can go longer. But because we've got so many choices at the moment, that's probably the hard thing that people need to look at when they want to try and stick to a training plan. I think yeah.
No, I was going to say, so do you think a lot of people jump because they see something else that's different and they just want to try it, and so therefore they never truly stick to one thing? Or do you think it's just that people have too many options and so they never decide on which one to go with?
Probably both. So I think it all comes down to the trainer and the relationship you've got with that trainer. I know if you said to me, I'm going to commit to you for 12 weeks, and I'd be on you like so tight that we want to make sure that there's 12 weeks and we're to the letter. And the other side of that coin is if you're doing it on your own and if you're following an online training program, you might stick to it for a certain amount of time, but you might maybe get bored of it, or you might not. You got to have self-discipline with that. That's a lot tougher to do. I also encourage a lot of people, if they're going to start a training program, have an accountability buddy and work through a couple of accountability buddies, not your trainer, but someone else, to go, hey, you going to the gym tomorrow? Or are you going to get up and do it? Oh, well, why not? So you kind of don't want to let that person down either. So there's a few ways there. And I think I'd hope that people now are, as we said before, they're not going out as much. They're not drinking as much. So I would say that the option to go and train in the morning is a lot more favourable in this day and age than it was probably about 10 years ago.
And do you see any specific diets work at all?
Loaded question.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and it's probably the same answer for everything I'm going to say is a diet for me is not going to work for you, and it's, I went to a naturopath when I wanted to work through after football because I'd come off having, training 2 or 3 times a day, creatine, proteins, all these supplements and working through a diet, and I wanted to lean up. So I was like, all right, what do I need to work on to do that? And I just needed something in front of me on paper so I could stick to it. I think where we get in trouble now as well is there's so many food options for us. Uber Eats. I'm guilty. Like literally you run out of time. You get home and you're like, 6:30, do I want to cook? Probably not. Yeah. I can order something and it's so quick to your door now. So I think that's a challenge for a lot of people too. And getting back to cooking 3 or 4 nights a week and having those other nights where you can go out and can, treat yourself, so to speak. But that's a big problem at the moment. That's a big problem. And if you can work through something where you can start to cook and, cook for yourself, then that's definitely a way that you can mitigate, making those decisions of, Uber Eats and having poor choices.
How do you stay motivated? Because you just mentioned you're running your 2nd marathon now. You're an insanely fit guy. Where's it come from?
I'd say my upbringing. As I was saying before at the start, my mum and dad were always up training on the weekends. And don't get me wrong, I do love a sleep in. I do love, and I hit the snooze button. That's exactly what. And given where I'm at now in my career, and you're doing late night emails, you got calls with global markets, you've got different things that are going on. So I really try and set aside, if I know I can have that time or I can spend, and I give myself 40 minutes a day. So there's 1,440 minutes in a day. If you give yourself 40 of those just to you, whether that's a walk, whether that's sitting in a park and breathing, whether that's going into a cold plunge or a sauna, whatever, that's something you can give back to yourself. And it's a credit system, where every day I'm always giving credits out to everyone else now, giving credits back to you guys. What's the credits coming back in? So sitting and breathing, eating a good meal, putting the phone in another room and actually having a conversation with your partner or someone at home, credits back in. Going out and moving for yourself, credits back in. So, and I try and give myself a credit system at the end of every day. I'm like, okay, what was today? Why am I so stressed? Do I want to go for the red wine or do I want to go for the beer? No, let's sit down. Let's have something nice to eat. Let's talk through the family and then let's work on resetting and going in the next day. I think that's my biggest motivation is if I don't do that, it's not that I'm not a nice person to be around, but I just know I need that to function properly and to, give my best. So
what are your thoughts on, I know like saunas and ice baths have popped off in the past couple of months, probably even past couple of years now, actually.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Saunas have been around for years, right? But then, and it's like this, it's like fashion. They they come and they go, and it's funny, cold plunging now, I don't know where that's going. That was high. And I think through COVID, a lot of people off the back of that thought that, and it's definitely 2 or 3 times a week. Cold plunging is a good amount. Some people do it every day and they need it for mental health and mental stimulus, and that's great. But I try and at least turn the shower on cold, or if I've got access to a sauna and a cold plunge, I'll go and do it. But saunas, as you get older, and this is what I've started to realize a lot more now, is that taking a day off for me is so good, because then if I go and run 35 Ks on the weekend, those other days are recovery days. And what I do in those days could be sauna, could be eating well, could be stretching, or it could just be at the end of every shower going a minute cold. So that's the stuff that I've got access to. And yeah, I think I'd like to see saunas and ice baths stay here forever. But unfortunately, the way that the industry moves, it cycles in and out. Now I just saw a product the other day where it's like an ice bath, but it's not. You don't get wet. You've actually got a cold blanket.
Oh, wow.
Put a cold blanket over you, and you can immerse yourself that way. So clothed. It's just the ideation of all these things coming through is pretty phenomenal and mind blowing to see where people go with it. But if something's not broken, don't try and fix it. Like saunas work. Go in there and they flush your system out of toxins and help you recover, especially as you get older. A good friend of mine, Clint Hill, actually says that the older you get from 35 onwards, for every hour of exercise, you've got to put 15 minutes of recovery in. So as you get to 40, I think that goes higher. It's like 20 to 25 minutes every hour that you do. So running a 3.5 hour session on a weekend, running 35 Ks, I've now got to go and recover for the next 2 days after that so I can do it again. Saunas and ice baths, watch this space. I'm not sure. I'd like to see them stay here, but I'm not sure.
Do you feel like they help your recovery? Like, have you had any noticeable changes?
Yeah, certainly. Anything where you can sit and recover and either stretching or saunas and ice baths, for sure. It's definitely helped me wake up the next day not creaky, which is something that happens a lot more often the older you get. But certainly helped me.
I think sauna is good because it's like slow recovery because your heart rate still gets quite high, doesn't it? And so...
Yeah, well, and I think looking at when you're in the sauna, anything from when your body temperature goes to a certain, your body's trying to in that fight or flight mode, but that's what your sweat does. Your sweat releases all those toxins out of your body, does help that recovery agent. It's not the total solution, it's part of a solution. So I think when you look at sauna, ice bath, stretching, you've got to do all these things together to get the result. You can't just go, I'm going for a sauna and I'm going to do that 2 times a week and that's going to help me run further. Not correct. You got to look at what you're eating to recover, the times you're eating straight after, the sort of supplements you're taking, the stretching you're doing, the sleep. There's no supplement for recovery other than the best one is sleep. If you're getting a good cadence of sleep and working through that circadian rhythm, which is basically the rhythm that you need to fall asleep and how you fall asleep, there's no supplement for recovery other than the sleep is arguably the best one. So yeah, if you can try and get your 8 hours in, that's even better. And the older you get, the harder it is to stay close to that, I feel.
You're lined up for your second marathon. What do most people underestimate about running a marathon?
Well, we're doing that next month. So my partner and I are doing that. We're in training at the moment. The thing that people underestimate is preparing for it and also training properly to prepare for that marathon being, when do you take a gel? What sort of socks do you wear? Is it going to hurt at 30, 35 Ks? Yes, it will. But how do you eliminate those factors of, how do I get through that a little bit further? A lot of people think, well, it's 42 Ks, it's not that much. If you haven't done the training, then you're going to struggle. And that's just pure and simple. What I would really encourage if someone is looking to do a marathon, go and get a coach or go and ask someone who's done this and pay the money and invest into it. Similar to like when you do taxes, finances in business, it's the same thing with running a marathon and health and fitness. The reps that you do will remove any doubt when you get to the start line. And that's what you want. You want to get to the start line going, you know what? I've done the work. I'm ready to go. I'm going to have fun with this. And that's the exciting part. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it.
How many months out do you think someone should start preparing for a marathon?
Yeah, good question.
Marathon.
Full marathon. Yeah, look, if you haven't done one before, I would start to prepare at least 6 months out. And that's a really good part of understanding time on feet, understanding training protocols, diet, and you watch your body change. And that's a big commitment. But it's also something that's pretty magical to be a part of. If you can get there and then you get to the finish line, you go, oh, I just achieved probably the toughest race ever in the world. And that's why it's called the marathon, right? Because it's one of the first events in the Olympics. It's a tough thing to do. So I would say 6 months, and then the training starts to peak and work through different facets of that over those 6 months. But yeah, find yourself a coach, and the first month of that could just be consulting and working through what shoes are good for you and what socks to wear and what gels to take. Why do I take a gel and when do I take it? And how does my body going to react? All these things that you got to take into account.
Do you have a game day or a pre-game day routine?
Yeah. Well, I used to when I played football. I'd always, have a decent amount of food and, work through and the music catalog. I'd go through a certain playlist and call a few people and just be really relaxed and sit there and breathe. I don't really have that luxury when I get to a marathon because we're running at 6:30. So we've got to be up at 4, and I generally want something in my stomach that I can, sustain, and that could be a couple of pieces of toast with banana and honey and some cinnamon, and then work on the playlist, make sure I've got all my items ready to go, sit there and meditate for about 20 minutes. And then with about an hour to go, have a decent warm up, get the body working and just have fun and sort of take it all in with about 10 minutes to go. It's very hard when you're in a race though. I've done, adventure racing and all that. And you want to go as hard as you can at the start because the adrenaline's kicked in and always on game day, you're going to go a little bit harder than normal. But generally that's my routine now with running. I try and get up and, especially in training, trying to train. And this is another thing I'd say to prepare for the marathon. Try and train the same day or the same time you're going to run. So if you're running your marathon at 6:30 a.m., try and run at 6:30 a.m.
Why is that? Just so you've preconditioned your body for?
Correct. Well, if you need to get up and eat and go to the toilet and whatever, but if you're doing your runs in the afternoon, your body's going to react differently. So you want to get up a certain time of the day, make sure that you train eating what you're going to eat before you run. Train those bowel movements because that's not very nice when you're mid-marathon. You need to duck off to the loo or something and whatever you need to do, but you got to train through that. So yeah, that's really important too, and get yourself as close as you can to running in those conditions and it might even be running through the city, for example, around people. Because in a marathon, there's people all around you.
Sure.
But if you're running on an open track and then all of a sudden you're surrounded by 50 people every time you run, you got to get used to that. So, that's probably a few tips for the marathon.
You're now in an intense CEO role. How are you juggling trying to stay fit, prep for a marathon, and the CEO responsibilities?
Good question. Great question. It's, look, that I've been on board since the back end of last year and not too dissimilar from running my own business and, being a GM and the CEO role is certainly been interesting to date and it's been a lot of fun. Building the team out and as I was saying before, doing late nights where it's needed to happen and probably waking up at 4:30, 5 o'clock with 4 hours sleep and going, all right, I got to train, I got to do something because if I don't do anything, I'll delay it another 2 days. So it's been a bit of a struggle. If I'm brutally honest, but at the same time, I've got a support network with my partner. She's doing the marathon with me. So having each other as an accountability buddy, what I was talking about before, we've got each other accountable. Whether it's her like dragging me out of bed or me dragging me her out of bed. I wouldn't say that too loudly because she does whack me over the head if I do it. If I do that, but it's exactly having that, the accountability and just having that support. It's been fun though. It's been, juggling working when, the day for me kicks off at 7 from a business sense. So I've got to get everything done before that. If it creeps over, then my phone starts ringing and I'm missing people and I'm sweaty and whatever. So I want to try and get it done before that. So it's been interesting, but fun.
You said at the start that relationships were really big to you. Or big for you. And so is you and your partner running this marathon together one of those ways that you're also managing to balance a third dimension being a relationship or a partner?
Yeah, totally. That's, training with someone and someone that you love and respect and want next to you is another, I guess, another charm in the bracelet of your relationship. It's another thing that you can look at and go, hey, we did that together. that was really cool. And like anything, you want that person there that builds you up, but also can give you some hard truths. Say we're not training properly. It's like get off your ass and do it. Or hey, you're doing really well, keep going. So yeah, it's definitely been a first time I've run a marathon with a partner, and I'm really excited about that. But yeah, it's a big part of self growth, but also growth as a couple as well.
Do you have a target time in mind for your marathon?
Oh, I'd love to go sub 4 hours, and that's good for me. I don't think I'm going to get there this time. I think just finishing it will be great, and finishing it, being able to walk around afterwards and have a laugh and just be in the moment is the goal for us. And I know it'll get to the last like 5 or 6 Ks, and Helen will be like, "Let's go, we're going." So if that works, then great. We've sort of practiced that in our training runs. So yeah, that's sub 4 if we can.
Okay, Todd, what's next for you?
Well, we want to grow Yoker. We want to, from a personal standpoint, I've thrown everything into this. Relationships, IP, to bringing in people from family, to putting my name behind something is massive. So for the next year, it's educating the market and growing into having a really solid brand where people make Yoker a household name. They go, "Oh yeah, that's Yoker. We know what that is." And then year 2 and 3 is going into global markets, looking at streaming and broadcast deals, and then hopefully having a flag to put in the ground in the US, in Taiwan, in Dubai, in other places, and we're running the brand across the world. So that's next. Personally, the marathon will be cool. I have, and I'm going to give a shout out to Ned Brockman, because Ned's got his Uncomfortable Challenge coming up in October. And we spoke about High Rocks. So I think, and if I say this publicly, it's probably going to have to happen. For 10 days, he asked someone to do a challenge. So you do something that's pretty uncomfortable for those 10 days. And that could be anything from running a marathon like he did for 50, or, sleeping out, like someone who is homeless for 10 days. I'm actually probably going to try and do a High Rocks a day for 10 days.
Gee whiz.
So that's going to be another challenge. That's in October. So
You've now said it.
Well, that's why I
said it.
But that's why I said it.
Okay.
So yeah, that'll be interesting.
Cool.
I'm going to try and work through that and see where that goes. So you heard it here first. It might be happening. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Tate. Appreciate it.
Could I ask a big favor? If you've taken any value out of this episode, please like and subscribe. It makes a huge difference for us.